of Robert and Trudie Perkins. Her maiden name was Chester, Trudie Chester Perkins. And they're courageous and committed champions of positive change here in the city. Today would have been their 75th wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary in heaven. I know they're looking over the balcony. They're looking over the balconies of heaven and saying, thank God that this has happened. So we're going to go ahead without further ado, and we're going to move our program because we have our president of Florida A&M University, and y'all know today, this weekend, is a big weekend, not only because of the street renaming, but because we got some people coming to town. We got a set of Wildcats coming to town, not the ones from Daytona, but the ones from Georgia that we've got to deal with. And so he's got to go get us ready. He got to get us ready to deal with those Wildcats. So we're going to have our invocation by a member of the Perkins family, the Reverend Jermaine Simmons, pastor of Jacob Free Will Baptist Church. Come on down, Pastor. Take a bite.
Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
I am here representing, obviously, the Jacob Chapel Baptist Church family, but also my grandmother, Miss Pinky Norwood Chester Simmons. She is 95 years young, still resides in the city of Cairo, Georgia. But when I arrived here almost 17 years ago, she told me, she said, you know you got some family down there. And I said, well, who? She says, Jackie Perkins is your cousin. And she said, her mother, Trudie Perkins, is your cousin. You need to know who they are. And so today we're honored to be here and to be part of this experience. And you're right, you never know who you're kin to. You need to know who your people are. And you need to know the people that you're sitting next to, who their people are, so you don't say anything inappropriate. One of these. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod. Felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet. Keep us forever, Lord, in your path, we pray. God, we come to you because you are our creator. You are our sustainer. And down through the years, you have been good to us. Thank you, Lord, for this day. And thank you for this occasion. Thank you for bringing us safe thus far. I pray now, Lord, that everything that is said and done today will be pleasing in your sight, that your name will be glorified as you've already been glorified through the life and through the ministry of Robert and Trudie Perkins. Thank you for their legacy. Thank you, Lord, for those of us that are here today because of them. Lord, you said in your word that we should remember these stones to tell future generations, oh God, where we've come from and what you brought us through. So thank you for their fight. Thank you for the path that they laid for us ahead of us to make our walk just a little bit easier. I thank you for our leaders who are here today, for our elected officials, because God, Robert and Trudie came through during a time when government was not our friend, when leadership did not love us. And oh Lord, even in some spaces right now in our world, leadership still does not love us. But God, you are our leader, and you continue to keep us. So I thank you again for this occasion, and we pray that your presence be with us. It is in Christ Jesus' name that we do pray. And all God's people said, amen. Thank you.
We will now pay honor to whom honor is due for helping to make this program possible today. We're going to recognize our elected officials. We have with us the county commission. If you would please stand so I can see who you all are, so I make sure I announce the county commissioner. Chairman Rick Minor, Vice Chairman William Bill Proctor. No, we just acknowledging you right now. Whoa, Nelly, whoa. Miss Carolyn, Commissioner Carolyn Cummings. I saw her. Okay, Carolyn Cummings, and let me tell you something real quick about Miss Cummings. You know, they say dynamite come in small packages. Listen, I needed this to happen today because that was the family's request. So I sent a message to get to her. She got the message, and she made sure it got on the agenda. Mr. Chairman, you probably didn't know you were being finessed, but you got finessed, and it happened. So thank you, Commissioner Cummings. Thank you. Any other commissioner, county commissioners here? City commission. This is my family, my colleagues. Without their help, you know, people are saying thank you to me, but without their help, we could not have done this. Just like the county, we could not have done this without them. So my colleagues, Mayor John Daly, Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Matlow, Commissioner Jack Porter, the Dean of the City Commission, Commissioner Curtis Richardson. Thank you all so very, very much. Our city staff, I see them here. City Manager Reese Gold. With the city staff, would you please stand? Reese Gold, Assistant City Manager Wayne Tedder, Deputy City Manager Cynthia Barber, who you're going to hear from later. I see the underground utilities, Raynetta Curry, who helped make this happen, but then she had to go take a job over in Jacksonville. If you knew the details, you know why she had to do it. But where is she? Raynetta Curry and all the other members of the underground utility. Steve, where is Steve Schaefer? Steve's trying to fill in. I'm glad you wore flats today, Raynetta, so he didn't have to wear heels. But Steve's the new Raynetta. And to my right hand in my office, Dr. Tawana Diablo Davis, y'all, you know, she keeps my schedule. I don't know where I'm supposed to be unless she tells me. And Allison Ferris, who's director of our communications, and all these folks you see behind cameras, behind microphones, these are the people who are making things happen. So all city staff, wherever you are, thank you. The chief of police is here, along with both of his deputy chiefs are here. Thank you all. I saw the motorcycle cops here earlier. I was wondering if, Ms. Perkins, if you were going to be riding in on motorcycles. I saw them all here. So I don't want to miss anyone, but all city, county staff, Florida A&M dignitaries, of course, none other than our own president of the premier HBCU in the world, not just Florida, the world, Dr. Larry Robinson, and his lovely wife, Miss Sharon Robinson. Thank you all so very, very much for all that you do. Mr. Keith Miles, Director of Communications, Vice President, Director of Communications, I'm gonna give you a raise. Director of Communications, and all of your staff, you all work together with us. And most importantly, this community. You all are VIPs in our community. Thank you so very, very much. If I missed anyone, count it to the head, not the heart, because I love you dearly. All right, Ms. Perkins, you make sure I stay on task now. Stay on task. Senator Lorraine Isley, I didn't see you. The dean was blocking you. Senator Isley, thank you for being here. And her staff, I did see some of your staff here as well. Thank you so very, very much. And from Gadsden County, from Quincy, Jack McLean, city manager, former commissioner, yes, absolutely. And former county commissioner, I think the first black county commissioner, right? Dr. Henry Lewis, and former interim president here at Florida A&M. Thank you so very, very much. And I want to say this about this young man. Stand up, Delatry. Delatry Hollinger has the energy of a 27-year-old, because that's about how old you are, right? 20, today is his birthday. He's 28 today. But he has the wisdom and knowledge of, of an older person, because he can dig up the dead in archives. So I'm telling you, he's awesome. Thank you for the work that you did for this project and other projects that you're working on. I'm told that the sheriff is hiding out there in the audience. Now, Sheriff, you need to put your lights on so I know you're behind me. Sheriff Walt McNeil. Reverend Steele. Where is Reverend Steele? Reverend Steele. God bless you, Reverend Henry Steele. Anybody else that I missed? Okay, I hope I didn't miss anybody else. Y'all let me know. We'll get them later. Which commissioner? Urban League, Mr. Curtis Taylor. Curtis Coop Taylor. All right. Y'all let me know. We also will have coming to us to bring greetings and remarks in this order. Ms. Teresa Frederick, is she here from Congressman Lawson's office? I don't see her right this minute, but we'll get, if she comes, we'll deal with that. We will now have the Honorable, according to the mayor, Rick Minor will come first, Chairman of Leon County Commission, followed by the Honorable Mayor, John Daly, followed by the Honorable Dr. Larry Robinson, President of Florida A&M University, and he will be followed by Mr. Devin Bilford, did I say that correctly? FAMU chapter, the NAACP, and Ms. Teresa John Lewis, former senator of the 50th FAMU Student Senate. They will come in that order. Thank you. Commissioner Minor. And we have White, Mr. Commissioner Minor.
Good morning. How are y'all doing today? My name is Rick Minor, Chairman of the Board of the Leon County Commission. I'd like to recognize my fellow commissioners, Vice Chair Bill Proctor and County Commissioner Carolyn Cummins. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here today to celebrate the lives and legacy of Robert and Trudie Perkins by officially renaming this important roadway through Florida A&M University as Robert and Trudie Perkins Way. If you ask an urban planner to define a way, they would likely say it's a street off of a road. But when we say Robert and Trudie Perkins Way, we're not just talking about a street off of a road. We're talking about the Robert and Trudie Perkins way of living, the Robert and Trudie Perkins way of organizing, and the Robert and Trudie Perkins way of shaping our community. To live the Robert and Trudie Perkins way is to dedicate yourself to service. As many of you know, the Perkins were longtime residents of Tallahassee with deep roots and commitment to the people here. They were business owners, activists, and advocates for equity and inclusivity in community spaces. Both graduates of FAMU, they fought for civil rights throughout their lives. Mr. Perkins pursued a career in higher education, serving as a professor here at FAMU and at FSU. He spent countless hours tutoring FAMU teaching assistants and students in math, chemistry, and other subjects, sowing seeds for a better future in the minds of local scholars. Ms. Trudie Perkins devoted her career to nursing and was one of the first black nurses to be employed at Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare. She was also relentless in her efforts to abolish discriminatory employment practices, fighting against the mistreatment and harassment that many black employees endured. These accomplishments helped demonstrate the Robert and Trudie Perkins way of living, working, and serving the community, though I've only just scratched the surface of all the great work that they've done. There are several speakers here today who will tell us more about the Perkins and their work. In so many ways, Mr. and Mrs. Perkins have made a profound mark on our community, from advocating for recreational facilities for black youth, abolishing discriminatory employment practices, and so much more. And now, Mr. and Mrs. Perkins' names will be featured prominently here at their alma mater to inspire the next generation of scholars, entrepreneurs, and activists. I hope anytime someone travels down this road, they are reminded of the Robert and Trudie Perkins way of living and are called to learn more about the Perkins' important work. Now, it's up to us to continue what the Perkins have started. As we hold important conversations about racial equity and making our community a more inclusive place today and into the future, we have Mr. and Mrs. Perkins to thank for lighting the path forward. Thank you, and I look forward to traveling that path with all of you. Thank you very much. Now we've got our Mayor of Tallahassee, John Daly.
Thanks, Rick.
Good morning. I have never been accused of being the smartest person in the crowd. But Commissioner Proctor, I'm smart enough to know not to show up in a Howard Bison blue tie on the highest of the 7 hills on a day like today. We'll get together later and we'll see if we can hook you up, all right? Thank you. Sure. Obviously just playing with you, Commissioner Proctor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Daly. I am the proud mayor of the great city of Tallahassee. What an honor it is to be here with the entire city commission, all of my colleagues, our colleagues at the county, other elected officials, Dr. Robinson, all the distinguished guests up front, city of Tallahassee family, city manager, police chief, and of course the Perkins family and all of our friends here in Tallahassee. It is an honor and a privilege to be here to bring greetings. Of course, at these ceremonies, we always have long remarks that are prepared for us, and I am going to cut them down because we do have a long program and much more important people here to speak than myself. But it is important on behalf of the city of Tallahassee to truly recognize this amazing couple who today would have been their 75th anniversary, Robert and Trudie Perkins. And although they probably didn't know it at the time, Robert and Trudie Perkins truly were a power couple here in Tallahassee, leading the way in the name of social justice, leading the way in the name of equal rights for African Americans, which at the time was so vital for moving our Tallahassee community forward. And as a math professor and as a nurse, they were graduates of what was then Florida A&M College. But they were also business owners as well. In fact, just at the other end of the street, just off of campus, was the Perkins service station and beauty shop. Folks, protecting history isn't always easy, but it is necessary. And with the installation of this new street sign, and on the site of what will soon be Robert and Trudie Perkins Way, we are keeping history alive. Today's recognition is a culmination of a collaborative, citizen-led effort, fully endorsed by the city, by the county, by Florida A&M University. And let me add my thanks to everyone who participated. Mr. Hollinger, happy birthday as well. And of course, to my dear friend and colleague who brought this issue before the City Commission and pushed it well, you didn't have to push it hard. We were all on board. But Commissioner Diane Williams-Cox, thank you for your efforts as well. As the proud mayor of Tallahassee, I could not be more proud than to join the Perkins family today, representing the city of Tallahassee in this incredible dedication. Thank you. God bless. Well, Dr. Robinson, I'll sneak back.
Good morning, everyone. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. My face dirty or something? What's going on? Okay. Okay, good? You good? Check. But anyway, anybody not vaccinated, you can now get vaccinated right down the street on Robert and Trudie Perkins Way. There's one building open. So thank all of you for coming out today. I do want to recognize one other very, very important person in this process for us, and that's our Director of Governmental Relations, Ms. Danielle Macbeth. Ms. Macbeth, where are you? Did she leave us? Oh, there she is. So, forgot about her, but she played a pivotal role in helping keeping FAMU engaged in this process. But I do want to thank Ms. Perkins, first and foremost, right, for giving us this opportunity, right, to do this naming, to honor this great couple. And by the way, so that you will know, my office, my first office at FAMU was right here, the building right there. You can turn and look. That's the old headquarters of the physical plant building here on this campus, right? But it housed the Environmental Sciences Institute at one time. So January of 1997, that's where I started here on the campus of Florida A&M University. Isn't that ironic? Isn't that ironic? I'm gonna tell you, as a former NAACP president, seeing people like this being recognized for their efforts in the struggle touches me in a very, very special way. And I can't tell you or express to you what that feeling is like. That's what I feel every day when I come to work at FAMU, because throughout our 133-year history, these are the kinds of things that people from FAMU do to make this community great, this state, this nation, and this world great. The Perkins, however, took on these battles at a time in this community when racial and social justice issues weren't as cool as they are today. And of course, although there are challenges today, they certainly were not as safe as we perceive ourselves to be in today's world. So they were courageous and persistent in their efforts to change this community. We owe your family, your parents, your loved ones so much for here at Florida A&M University and around this city. Let me give you a few highlights of some of the things my staff told me that I needed to mention. Some of these are in the program that you have, but just for the record. They established the Recreation Advisory Council for Negroes. They established construction of recreational facilities for Negroes in Tallahassee and Leon County. Desegregation of Leon County schools and the fair treatment of Black students in this city and county. Established the Community Health Organization, CHO, to render health care to the underprivileged. Fair treatment and pay equity for Black employees at TMH and at the city of Tallahassee. Navigation of the federal courts to seek redress for discriminatory employment practices within the city of Tallahassee. Support for the appointment of Black officials and judges by former Governor Reuben Askew. A federal consent decree entered in order by the Department of Justice in April of 1975, which mandated that the city of Tallahassee hire Blacks in all EEO job categories at a minimum level of 23.7%. This was proportionate to the city's Black population at that time. The establishment of a pathway to employment opportunity and prosperity for Blacks who secure positions within the upper echelon of city government. Improve relationships among all races and all ethnicities, and they made life better for all citizens of Tallahassee. To put this in context, Gamble Street was named for a Confederate soldier and slave owner, Major Robert Gamble. He enslaved 62 people, and more than 200 slaves lived and worked at his plantation at his productive sugarcane peak. However, due to declining sugar markets and debts, Gamble had to sell the property in 1856. The Gamble Mission is the only surviving plantation house in Peninsula, Florida, and the Judah P. Benjamin Confederate Memorial at Gamble Plantation Historic State Park, also known as the Gamble Mansion for Gamble Plantation, that remains at Florida State Park. Renaming this street for a husband and a wife team who sought to make positive changes for citizens of Tallahassee is the right thing to do. Their memories will be engraved in Florida A&M University's history forever, but also in the city of Tallahassee and Leon County. But just doing the right things, being champions and heroes during a time when there was much more at stake and so much more at risk. So to Ms. Jackie Perkins and members of the Perkins family, and Dr. John Foster Jr., who all have advocated for the Gamble Street name change over the years, thank you. Thank you for working to clear the way for more reconciliation and forcing us as a community to reckon squarely with the not so pleasant past while making a positive change for present and future Tallahassee residents and students of Florida A&M University. This is indeed a great day for us. This is a great day for all of us. A huge positive step forward. Thank you all very much, and thank you, Ms. Perkins in particular, for your efforts.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
What a lovely Friday we have here for this occasion. Of course, greetings again. My name is Devin Vilfraud. I serve as the president of Florida A&M University chapter of the NAACP. First and foremost, I would like to thank Ms. Jacqueline Perkins and the Perkins family for allowing me to speak today on behalf of the Florida A&M University chapter of the NAACP. Our chapter knows that the act of changing Gamble Street to Robert and Trudie Perkins Way is a recognition that puts righteousness in the place of the wicked. Today we dethrone a slave master's very presence from our illustrious university and replace him with not one, but two graduates of Florida Agricultural and Mechanical College, now known as Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. Florida A&M University was a part of the Civil Rights Power Couple's legacy, and now Florida University has ensured that the legacy of the Civil Rights Power Couple is a part of the university's legacy forever. Can we get a round of applause for that? Ms. Perkins, although the chapter has never met your parents, we see so much of them in you. In the time that our chapter has gotten to know you and work with you, you have been selfless and focused during every conversation, every service, and every meeting. Your hard work does not go unnoticed. We are proud to have you as a leader in the Tallahassee community, just as your parents were. We again thank the Perkins family for allowing Florida A&M University chapter of the NAACP to show support and appreciation for this well-deserved name change on the 75th anniversary of their wedding, founded at the College of Love and Charity. And it's interesting, love and charity. I can't think of a better 3 words from Mr. Robert and Trudie Perkins, love and charity. As students, we look forward to seeing it every day on our way to class, so we can all continue on their legacy. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. I am Teresa Jean Lewis. On behalf of the 50th, 51st Student Senate, McClinton and Wiggum administration, Wiggum and Thomas administration, We are honored for the opportunity to partake in a monumental moment here at our illustrious HBCU. We do not take that lightly and are forever thankful. In the process of writing Senate Resolution Bill SRFA-001 Robert and Trudie Perkins Way, I was taken back and puzzled by such history of a street that is known by generations and ingrained to our memories. A street at a historical HBCU that does now represent who we are, what we stand for, and what our ancestors fought for, which left me disappointed. However, as signified by the street change and countless other actions, I rejoice because FAMU continues to shine as a beacon of light for the advancement of Black students and the Tallahassee community. I will always hold this piece of legislation dear to my heart, and I am honored, and I am truly, truly honored to write about Tallahassee Civil Rights Power Couple. I actually like that, Tallahassee Civil Rights Power Couple. Robert and Trudie Perkins, who tirelessly advocated and relentlessly fought for social justice, fought against discriminatory employment practices, fought for economic equality, and many more. This couple served their community as business owners, educators, and courageous civil rights leaders. Let today not be the last time we change history. Let today not be the last time we properly honor those that came before us. Let our actions speak louder than words and let us be the change. Let the life and history of Robert and Trudie Perkins be a motivation to push towards advocating for our community, challenging the status quo, and paving a hopeful future for the next generation. Thank you. And I would like to present this bill onto the Perkins family on behalf of the 50th and 51st Senate. So.
Thank you very, very much for those of you who've come before us. I did see also in the audience as I looked around, I saw another local historian who needs no introduction, Miss Altamise Barnes. Did I see her back there somewhere? I think she's trying to hide. She and I are working on, and a bunch of other folks are working on an emancipation statewide conference to be held right here in Tallahassee on the anniversary of the ratification of the 13th Amendment, which is what actually freed slaves in all the world, but in all of the United States. But here in Florida, we know that May 20th is our Emancipation Day, so we're trying to educate people on that. We'll talk more about that at another time. Today, keeping our program moving, we're going to have a historical perspective from Mr. Delatry J. Hollinger, President of the National Association for the Preservation of African American History and Culture, and the birthday boy. So 28 years old, soaking wet. How about that?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I want to thank Miss Raynetta Marshall, who came back on this special day to be with us. I want to thank Lisa Scott, Scott Brockmeyer, Steve Schaefer, and Alan Seacrease, and the county commission, city commissions, and everyone who played a role in this occurring. It is indeed an honor and a pleasure to be here on today as we salute two ordinary individuals who did extraordinary work. Robert Dean Perkins Sr. and Trudie Chester Perkins. The amount of courage that it took to stand up and be counted as African Americans and to demand public parks and recreational accommodations in the late 40s and early 50s in Tallahassee cannot be overstated. Robert Perkins was one of the first civil rights leaders in the city of Tallahassee, and he took his duty to uplift those in his community who were most in need very seriously. He met a beautiful young lady right here on the campus of Florida A&M University, and they would engage in this work together as husband and wife. Trudie Perkins was outspoken, not only calling for improvements to health care for minorities, but she did the work. She founded and served as president of the Community Health Organization, and without grant funding or other financing, she took the ill and the elderly to doctor's appointments, cared for the sick, and hosted voter registration drives as a means to empower our community. Mrs. Perkins joined with other civil rights leaders in leading protests against the closing of the FAMU hospital and raised her voice as one of the first black nurses at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital, demanding that black employees be paid the same as white employees. Robert and Trudie Perkins were called for such a time as this. They were anointed and appointed by God to make life better for others in our city, even though they both paid with the loss of their jobs and livelihood. Mr. Perkins, with no formal legal training, boldly argued cases pro se before the Florida Supreme Court, the First District Court of Appeal, and sought redress in federal courts to make real the laws of the land. He was unrelenting in his efforts to seek redress for those city employees who had faced discrimination in pay and employment practices. He assisted employees of the hospital, then owned and operated by the city of Tallahassee, and helped to file approximately 25 complaints with the United States Department of Justice. He traveled using his own financial resources and on his own time to Washington, D.C., where he met with members of the United States Senate, including Ed Gurney, Ted Kennedy, and Birch Bayh. They agreed with the Perkins, and the United States filed a complaint against the city of Tallahassee in December of 1974, alleging that the city had engaged in a pattern and practice of racial discrimination. As a result, a judge handed down a consent decree, a federal judge, mandating that the city hire African Americans at a ratio of 23.7%, which was proportional to the city's black population at that time. Mr. Perkins also argued a case before the First District Court of Appeal, which is cited in housing case law. I'd like to ask a favor of each and every person here on this morning. As these street signs are mounted, and as we leave this hallowed spot on today, let us remember that now it is on us. Let us pick up the mantle and accept the obligation that we each now have, not only to fight for what is right, but to preserve the history, the stories, and the legacies of our communities. Thank you to this wonderful family and to each of you. Thank you.
Like I said, the energy of a 28-year-old, but the wisdom of an 82-year-old. Thank you, Mr. Hollinger. We will now have 1 to 2 minute reflections. The first person listed is Mrs. Maddie Hall Mobley, who is credited with introducing Mr. Perkins to Mr. Perkins to the future Mrs. Perkins, and the rest is history. Mrs. Mobley is 107 years young. Let's give that a big round of applause. And of course, when you get to be 107 years old, you may not be able to show up everywhere. So she's not able to show up today. She did send a recorded message letting you know, and for those of you who know Miss Mobley, you know she said it like this: I introduced that boy to that girl. I had no idea that it was going to come to this. Now, Miss Mobley just stopped driving just a few years ago. So, you know she's a bad mama jamma. So she couldn't be with us this morning. The godfather is not going to be with us today either. Is his daughter here? Is Tawanda here? Okay, well, the godfather, everybody know the godfather. I think he had a birthday too recently. He's 94. And, you know, when you get to be a certain age, you can just decide when you wake up what you're going to do. And they just couldn't do it this morning. He wanted to be here. He really wanted to be here. because he too was instrumental in the lives of the Perkins. We will now be graced with a Howard Bison, employed at Florida A&M University, and by Leon County, showing up here in that blue tie. My good friend, my colleague here in the South Side, the Honorable William C. Bill Proctor Jr., the Vice Chair of the Leon County Commission, followed by Dr. Henry Lewis III, the former Leon County Commissioner, also followed by Sergeant Major Jarvis Rozier, President of the Colored Troops Project, followed by the Reverend Dr. Henry Marion Steele, retired City of Tallahassee employee, and Mr. Mataki Akbar, President of the Tallahassee branch of the NAACP. Let me make way. I don't know whether we're going to have the commissioner or the preacher today, but y'all get ready. I got my fan.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. To our president, Perkins family, mayor, leaders, all of that. I would have got one of them FAMU ties from across the street in that building right there. FAMU is proud of them ties. They're about $79.74. And if you all knew the pay scale that Dr. Robinson has us faculty at over here, everybody can get one of them ties, just upper uppers. So y'all talk to Dr. Robinson that I can get one of them ties. I know, and I still can't get one. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud today to represent William C. Proctor Sr. in absentia. Few things that William Proctor would even go to, but I am certain this is one of those events that he would have been to, because he absolutely loved Mr. Robert D. Perkins, and respected and loved so much Mother Perkins. I want to say that I'm old enough to remember when Florida A&M had a manpower program, vocational and tech programs spanning this hill on this side of FAMU High School. And some people might get it twisted about my blue tie, but they don't understand that Keith Miles and Cynthia Bob, I'm not trying to date you, how young you are, Cynthia. Rachel Holmes and others here. But we started on Gamble Street in the first grade and matriculated at FAMU High and on this campus for 12 consecutive years. By the third grade, you know the alma mater to Florida A&M University. You know its customs, its traditions, its standards, its expectations. And the fact that you're challenged to believe that you can go to FAMU, there's never no doubt. So, Mr. Mayor, my mama, my daddy, my aunts, my uncle, and I could call a roll, we all FAMU. And we started here when Dr. Gore was president and graduated when B.L. Perry was president. And I started working at FAMU and Walter Smith was president, have served here under every subsequent president. I think I'm a goddamn rattler. Manpower program was here at FAMU. And I need you to know that that word manpower means something. Because all of these signs, my father loved Mr. Perkins because of the man that he was. And no matter your title, your degree, if man is not in it or in you, or the holder of that degree, these kinds of placards lifted here on easels, it cannot occur. But it was the essence of the man, the heart. And when you look into today's program to note that he was supervisor over the computer center, but yet my father was a vocational man. And to those young men who sat around all weekend long, dropping a motor, Dad, I thought, was that a 3-hour class or what, 4-hour class? But no, it was an all weekend class. It was all night long. Because the intricacies of teaching excellence of every screw, every bolt, every spring and where it went Mr. Perkins was capable of taking a motor apart, but teaching men, and at that time, many of them had been to the United States military. How do you take men that done been under Sergeant Taskmaster, and then they're young kids like my father who comes to family at 15, and you got all of that in the bowl, and you got to stir all of these different ages and stages of manpower. But to know that he's capable of translating men. Jake Gaither took a football, Mr. Perkins took wrenches, and they both did the same thing to evoke and to produce the essence and quality of what was needed in the time, man, within the being and the center core of those persons who were under their charge. Much love to Mr. Perkins, so much more to be said. I am grateful for Leon County's role in voting to support this as the city of Tallahassee, and we never knew that we were under the karma of Mr. Gamble and the history shared by President Robinson. But wow, won't the sun shine much brighter here on the highest hill, that the Perkins, Trudie, and Robert D. will stand forever. God bless them.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. I thought we were gonna have to stop passing the plate for a minute there. Can we get $79 out of this audience? Because I don't want him to walk on this campus again with no blue tie. Good morning. My name is Henry Lewis III, all three of me, and my grandfather and my father all were in this neighborhood. I want to thank both the City Commission and the County Commission who unanimously saw fit to make this morning happen and to right what I think was a tremendous wrong in the first naming of this street for the individual that was originally named for. I want to also thank Delatria Hollinger for his research and his expertise and his commitment to the history of African Americans in this country. Dr. Robinson, we need to find a way to help this young man get a PhD. He's got the knowledge, he's got the experience, he's got the wherewithal, he just needs the credential. And I see him being on the faculty of this great university in the Department of History someday. Let it be. Back in December 2019, I made a presentation to the City Commission sitting as the CRA recommending the approval of the Greater Bond Neighborhood Plan and requesting an appropriation of $6.4 million to help transform this bond community. Included in my comments that day, and I quote, Jackie Perkins' father and mother operated the former gas station located at the corner of Osceola and Wanish Way. He used to admonish us over 50 years ago to plan methodically and execute precisionally. The neighborhood first plan before you for your consideration this morning follows that advice precisely, end of quote. Little did I know that 20 months later, we will be here this morning to write, again, in my opinion, an unjust recognition. Today, we are here to recognize a couple who quietly and completely changed the trajectory of the treatment of African Americans here in Tallahassee. Growing up in the Bond area in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, we always had a totally self-sufficient community. There were probably over 100 entrepreneurs in this area, including numerous grocery stores, laundries, dry cleaners, beauty and barbershops, of which Ms. Perkins operated one, construction companies, restaurants, and of course, filling stations, as they were called in that day. Mr. Perkins' station was probably one of the most widely known here in Tallahassee because he was the only black station that had 3 pumps. Now, why is that important? Because you always see three pumps right now. Because we had regular, middle grade, and ethyl. And in that day, we had these big engines, and you needed to have ethyl gas. And he had the only pump that black folk could go get ethyl gas at. While that is minor to some, it's major to those people who have to have that kind of gas in our community. Mr. Perkins was most widely known on the campus because he operated that station and he provided a service to the family, faculty, and staff, oftentimes giving them gas on the credit. These businesses in the bond community were rich in heritage, but they were not trying to get rich. They were here because they wanted to provide a critical service to this bond community. Because a lot of them had to go out of business, like Mr. Perkins eventually did, because he didn't have the cash flow, because those individuals were not able to repay their debts to them. But Mr. Perkins' passion for civil rights in Tallahassee was evidently and virtually in every conversation that he had. In his own way, he sometimes even ruffled the feathers of the civil rights leaders of Tallahassee at that time. Never deterred by their consternation, he often fought alone sometimes for the justice and equality for all those voices who would never be heard before the city or the county commission. His fights were more often more successful and positive change almost every time occurred. He instilled that same drive in all of his family members. Robert Jr., who I had the privilege and the pleasure of attending public schools through graduation from the Lincoln High School, was personified in his father's activism and his commitment to social justice. I want to thank Kenny Barber of the Frenchtown Uprising and Sheila Thompson Williams of the CRA for recognizing Robert Jr.'s contributions to social justice and social change just over a year ago before his transition by giving him the Living Legends Award. Now, Jackie Perkins, I call her the Wonder Woman. She and I have worked closely together over the last 2 years. I've worked with the Greater Bond Neighborhood Association. I see Ms. Wileen Footman, the chairman, back there. Mr. Rhett Turnquist, where is he? I saw Rhett, he came back from Tampa to be part of this. Dr. Dolores Austin, and many others who are here who worked to put together that plan that the City Commission ultimately approved $6.4 million for bond community. She is indeed a chip off the old block, as they say. When both of her brothers, Romy and Robert, passed, she committed herself to gaining the rightful recognition of the contributions her parents played in improving the life of all Tallahasseans. While we are here to pay tribute to the power couple of civil rights as they have been referred to, we must also recognize the commitment and determination that she brings to improving the lives of not only Southside Tallahassee, but all of Tallahassee. Her work with law enforcement and dedication to our youth is unquestionable. I join all of you here and this entire Tallahassee community in celebrating and saluting the Perkins family and helping making our home place the all-American city that it's been designated as. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is indeed an honor to stand before you today as we honor two individuals I had the honor of knowing personally while growing up in the Bond subdivision in the Bond community. A lot has been said and a lot more can be said. A lot of the members the friends and family that I grew up with are here. Growing up knowing the Perkins, Mr. Robert and Miss Trudie Perkins. I see Bill, I see Donna, Dr. Hayes, I see Rex, Angie. I see a lot of them, and I'm gonna miss somebody, but we all grew up here. Just to say, I grew up I went to the kindergarten right here where Pattyfoot used to be. So I'm rooted in the community. I, myself, and several current and former members of the Bond subdivision are in the process of documenting the history of this once vibrant community that Dr. Lewis talked about. This community we call the heart and soul of the South Side, a phrase coined by none other than their daughter, Jackie, and my lifelong friend, Jackie Perkins. This history could not be written without the inclusion of the life and service of Mr. Robert and what we call Mother Trudie Perkins. They were business owners, courageous and tireless civil leaders who found that their purpose in life was service. And that was to be the power couple that they were, and they stood in the gap and fought for the equality of all, social justice for all, desegregation of city and county facilities, access to employment opportunities, economic empowerment. I could go on and on and on. A lot of that is in the program about what they did. This power couple was like, you could say the Parks and Crumps or the Morgan and Morgan of the Bond subdivision. We didn't have attorneys that we can go to, but Mr. Robert Perkins, I don't know, he just knew everything. And we would go to him, and they didn't ask for anything. They were glad to be servants. And they went without asking anything. They served because they had a passion for fighting for what was right. Their selfless service was not only felt in the Bond community and the FAMU community, but the city of Tallahassee, the state, and nationally as well. I served on the board of deacons at Greater Mount Zion Primitive Baptist Church, where Mother Perkins joined back in 1946 and remained a faithful member until her passing in 2013 at the rightful age of 92 years old. My pastor and some of my members are here from Greater Mount Zion in honor of Mother Perkins and Mr. Robert Perkins. Amen. She was a leader and implemented several initiatives and programs at the church, many to not name. I can't name them all. She started the Women's Missionary, and she just did a lot of things. But I just want to make sure that you know, they always say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And Jackie didn't fall far from her mother and father's actions. I can remember from Bond to NIMS to Fairview to Ricketts, Jackie's always been an advocate. I remember Jackie, what was it, in the 8th grade, I think, we were at Fairview, and Jackie refused to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance because it didn't stand for all of us. Well, we didn't know, but she was always on it. She was always been a leader, and she followed in the footsteps of her mother and father as being leaders in the community and standing up for what they thought was right. I know my time here is short, but I will say this, from henceforth and forevermore, when you enter the Bond community from the north, east, and west, and the highest hills in Tallahassee, you will never again have to cross a street named after a slave owner. Never again. You will now be crossing a street named after two humble servants named Robert. They were blessed, a blessing to this community and the city, but more importantly, they felt to be a humble servants. They felt that they were blessed to be the servants that they were. And if I may end that with, there's a poem I think that befitting to them, knowing that they were blessed to be a blessing. So I never made a fortune. It's probably too late for me now, but I don't worry about that much. I'm happy anyhow. As I go along life's way, I'm reaping better than I've sowed. I'm drinking from my saucer because my cup is overflowed. I haven't got a lot of riches, and sometimes the going gets rough. But I got a lot of loved ones, family, friends, and neighbors around me that makes me rich enough. I thank God for his blessings and the mercies he's bestowed. I'm drinking from my saucer because my cup is overflowed. Many a times when things went wrong and our faith somewhat wore thin, but all of a sudden the dark clouds would break and the sun would peep through again. God help us not to gripe about the tough roads we've hold. We're drinking from our saucers because our cup has overflowed. And may God continue to give us strength and courage when the way goes steep and rough. We're not asking for any other blessing. Truly, we've been blessed enough. And may we never, ever, ever be too busy to help someone, a family member, a neighbor, a citizen carry their heavy load. Till then, we'll keep drinking from our saucer, but our cup of blessings has overflowed. Thank you.
We will now ask Reverend Steele, Reverend Dr. Henry Steele, son of Reverend C.K. Steele, to come, and followed by Attorney Mataki Akbar. We are on a little time crunch because we got to get get the unveiling done so that the president can get to convocation. So we ask that if you would hold your, anybody coming next, you'll hold your comments in 1 to 2 minutes if we could do that. We appreciate it.
I am especially delighted to have this opportunity to say something in behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Perkins. And I can conclude it, I can say it in a few words. In the words of Longfellow, the lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime when departing, leave behind us footprints in the sand of time. This is succinct, it is true to the point. It is Robert and Trudie Perkins. They left their footprints in the sands of time, and we give thanks for them on this day.
Good morning. I'm Mutaki Akbar, president of the Tallahassee branch of the NAACP. And I just appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak at this very, very momentous occasion. And I do want to also give a shout out to one of our previous presidents, DeLatrice Hollinger, for doing the research and making sure that this event took place. I went to school with the Perkins grandsons, and I'm ashamed that I didn't know the history of the Perkins family just growing up with them, and also ashamed that I didn't know the history of Gamble, going to FAMU High and being on Gamble Street for 13 years at FAMU High. But what I do want to say, what makes this so important, for 3 reasons, and I keep it very brief. I think we have to be intentional about not only telling our own stories, but also institutionalizing our stories. So our history now is being institutionalized by being on the street sign, so our children can now look up and see a black family, and a black family that did great things for Tallahassee. So we have to tell our own story. Next, I think we also have to be intentional about going from miseducation to education, as Carter G. Woodson said. We were miseducated to think that these people, just because they were on signs, were great people. And now we know that they were not, and now we are re-educating ourselves or educating ourselves about people who deserve to be on these signs. And third, I like the fact that we're celebrating black people outside of Black History Month. We are to be celebrated year round, and this is just an example of that. So congratulations to this honor, and I'm honored to be a part of it. Thank you.
He did it just like I taught him. Great job. Thank you to all of our speakers, and thank you for working with us. Where is Scared? Scared's my storyteller, but Scared right now is sweating because we got to get this unveiling done to get the president going. He's sweating me and I'm sweating. So thank you, Scared, for working with us in the communications office. We will now be graced by the former city commissioner and mayor of the city of Tallahassee, current city manager of my hometown, Quincy, Florida, on the efforts to end discriminatory employment practices, Mr. Jack McLean Jr., he will be followed by the impact of the Perkins work by our current deputy city manager, Ms. Cynthia Barber. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me just say I will be brief. The sun is bright and getting hotter. Let me just say that I am just honored to be here today. I know this family. I know the family. I know Jackie Perkins. I know Robert. I know Romario. I knew the history about this family. Much unsung, but today I am glad that it's being recognized. Let me just pause a moment and just kind of go ahead and thank all the dignitaries, the president of this great university, the mayor, and the chairman of the county commission, and all of the elected officials who are here today. I want to also just quickly just kind of recognize people who have been in my life and made a difference. And I happened to see them in the audience. And I know I saw Don Corley, but I'm trying to look back and see if I see him again, but he may have stepped out and went on. But, you know, I can also talk about Carolyn Cummings. We worked together at Legal Services of North Florida. I am so happy and was so proud when she became a county commissioner. She made us all proud at Legal Services. I just want to stop and thank my friend Walt McNeil, who I knew in Tallahassee and while I was on the commission, and who was also my chief in the city of Quincy. I want to also just thank Altamise Bond, who has been really the crucible, the protector of Black history in this community for all these years, and working on tirelessly and now stands at the top of the heap saying I have been successful. So I just want to go ahead and thank her, and then thank Cynthia Shingles. I saw her in the audience here. She is my friend. She was my administrative assistant while I was a city manager, and now she's over here in the city that I once worked with and so proud of. Let me just say one other thing, and that is about Jackie Perkins. Now, everyone has talked about how crazy she was, how hard she worked, but you know how I knew Jackie for the very first time? I met her in the elevator, and I say, that is the prettiest woman in City Hall. And she was. So I just want to go ahead and just thank her for walking in her parents' footsteps. And then the other thank you I want to make is to the family, to Robert and Trudie Perkins. They really paved the way for me to come to Tallahassee and to live out my parents' dream, Jack and Ethel Mae McClain's dream of being in elected office. I could not have done it for the work that they have done in this community. So I want to thank them about the work that they did at the hospital and making it a better place, because when I got there, it was not the best place, even in 1984, but it is better now because of what they have done. They have paved the way, and Robert, for me as a lawyer, to look at cases and to say, how do you strategize trying to do the same thing we did at Tallahassee over at Tallahassee Hospital? And Larry White, my good friend, and I basically fought that fight and discrimination there at that hospital. And we had to do that for years. But we were successful. We had smart, brilliant people who were clients. And I often say you need to listen to your client, because you just not, I mean, you may think you're a great lawyer, but your client knows the truth. Your client knows the way. And that is I think, the mark of Robert Perkins in terms of filing all the cases that he filed. Unschooled in law, but he did great things. And I'm glad, I hope there weren't too many Robert Perkins out there, because I might not have been able, my law degree might have not been worth very much, because he had great talent and great skill and perseverance. So one of the things is, I want to go ahead and just look back and let you know that life was no crystals there for them. And life is not a crystal there for all of us, but it will get better, as Langston Hughes said. America ain't America to me, but yet it is America. And America is better because Robert and Trudie Perkins came this way. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Cynthia Barber, and I'm proud to serve as your Deputy City Manager. And I know without a doubt, I stand on the shoulders of Mr. and Mrs. Perkins and others, and I work so hard. People talk about that. And the reason I do it, Jackie, is because I know without a doubt that your parents and others work so hard, oftentimes to their own peril and own risk, work so hard for us to be there, that I will never fail them knowingly by doing my best every day. So Jackie, you are my friend. I did not know that our paths intertwined so much. But I'm going to cut my comments short as well. I won't talk about the reason for the consent decree. You've heard that. I want to talk to you about the true benefit. You're looking at one. I'm one of the people who was hired in the city of Tallahassee. When we were placed under the consent decree, the city manager at that time made a bold decision to appoint Sharon Afani as the lead of the Affirmative Action Department to get qualified, and I'm going to go back to that word, qualified, because your dad and your mom didn't fight to put people into jobs that they were not trained to do, prepared to do, educated to do. It was qualified. They wanted qualified African Americans in all positions in the city of Tallahassee. And I want to say, Jackie, that's exactly what we did in the city of Tallahassee. And I was so proud when I arrived there because the work had already started. And there were a number of African American directors in place. And I saw Don Corley. We had our first African American police chief, Walt McNeil. Is he still here? I still call him Chief McNeil. That's who he is to us. We had our gas utility director, our general services director, but there was still work to do. We hired our first African American city manager, Nita Favors. I'm one of your black, one of the black employees, your deputy city manager, all qualified, all who will stand against any other in any government. And I'm proud today, Jackie, that we represent in the city of Tallahassee, your father and your mother's goal and their dream is still a reality. We represent one of the most diverse workforces in this community, and the most diverse workforce in that the city of Tallahassee has had in his history. So I'm very, very, very proud of that. When I talked to Sharon about the job, as you know, it wasn't an easy job, particularly in those times. It was a tough job, but we did it. We did it by being very intentional and deliberate, and that's exactly what your parents asked and what they expected of us. Had our first African American engineer, but not only at the top echelon, but also in all of our other positions, areas that had historically not been integrated. We had our black linemen and administrative specialists, and the face of the city of Tallahassee changed to represent the community, to make sure we looked like the community that we serve. That's still a priority of this commission and this administration, and I'm proud to say that it reflects. So we talk about your parents, Jackie. They took the risk, and it was quite a bit of risk at that time. And I just learned, and I'm embarrassed to say it, like Mutaki said, I went to FAMU High too, and we're very proud to be on Gamble Street. We knew nothing about that, but I just learned today about the impact on my mother. My dad worked for TPD. At that time, black officers were hired to replace when another black officer left. So if you do the math, you know we would never get there with the numbers. So we couldn't get there just by replacing a black. My daddy worked under totally different circumstance at that time. But today we have our two African American deputy chiefs who are here with us. We have had African Americans serve at every rank in the police department, every rank of management in the police department. But your parents, they took the risk. They had a vision, they had a dream. They wanted to change the environment for the whole community. The city benefited, the hospital benefited. My mother was a nurse. My mother worked at A&M Hospital and was one of those nurses that was moved to Florida, moved to TMH. I just learned today that your mother helped lead that fight to make sure when my mom, the supervisor at A&M Hospital, arrived at TMH, she was also a white patients, because that was one of the restrictions, and that she could supervise white employees because she was a supervisor, not a black supervisor. She was a supervisor, and I learned today that your mother was a large part of that fight. So we have to talk a little bit more about that. Your parents worked through their faith to make sure that we cut through barriers and obstacles, and that there was no doubt, there's no doubt in my mind that the decree, and when I learned this story, that's one of the first things they taught me when I got there, who Mr. Perkins was, but that this decree made a difference, and that your dad drove up there to deliver his concerns, and as a result, our city is better for it, and our city government is better for it. We owe a great debt of gratitude to you and your family.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Perkins. If I might readjust the schedule a little bit, if we could go ahead and have those individuals prepare, be there for the unveiling of the sign. Let's move to the unveiling of the sign, and we'll come back and finish the program for those of us who can return. So if we would now prepare to go over to the unveiling of the sign. I'm not sure I need some instructions. We're gonna do it right here? Okay, we're gonna do it right here. Okay, so family, Ms. Perkins, whomever you've designated, and Mr. Sam with your wife. Thank you for being here. Everybody talking about Jackie, but you are right there holding her up. So thank you for being there. So family, if you would, and Dignitaries, if you would, come for the unveiling of the sign. I have no instructions, so we just gonna figure this out. Ms. Perkins, this is your son, right? Your son and your husband, okay. Okay. Y'all come on in around the president and Ms. Perkins. Come on in. Okay, that is that. Let's give again Robert and Trudie Perkins another round of applause. We also want to recognize Rudy Malloy from Senator I always want to call him Senator, Congressman Lawson's office. Thank you for being here as well. All right. Ms. Perkins, are you pleased with this with the sign? Very good, very good. I am going to, at this point, I'm going to turn the program over to Ms. Perkins to give instructions on the remaining of the program. And thank you all for allowing me to play a small role in today's ceremonies. So proceed as you wish. We've done what we need to do.
Okay. Can I thank you all for being here. Thank you for staying. I know it's hot, and I promise you that I'm going to do what I do with brevity. And my grandchildren were going to do, they were going to make some remarks. Can you all stay for just about 5 more minutes?
No. Let me say this. If you are available to be here, please take your seats. The program has not ended. We were just trying to go ahead and get the unveiling done so that the president could go and get convocation started. Okay. So we still have more program, and these babies are here, and we want to make sure that they have the opportunity to do what they need to do. Now, which school is this, Ms. Perkins? Unity Child Care Development. Unity Child Care Development are here on this historic day. So you'll be down in history for being here as well.
Yes. Again, thank you all. I'm going to ask my son and my nephew to come up real quick. I think they're next on the program, and then it'll be the great-grands. The grandchildren and great-grand, and my comments will be very brief. I know it's hot, and they actually asked me not to do this because they said it was going to be too long. But you know what? This is something that happens once in a lifetime. And I think that it's hard to do, like Commissioner Cox said, you can't tell the history in 1 hour. We tried to do it in 2-minute sound bites, and I think we were successful.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Jamil Perkins. I am one of the grandsons of Robert and Trudie Perkins. I'm also the son of, Robert Perkins Sr. I am the son of Robert Perkins Jr. I was tasked with talking about the legacy, the importance of the legacy, and I'm actually an embodiment of that legacy. My grandfather and I shared a common bond, and that was our love of mathematics. This is actually his textbook. It's just like my grandmother gifted me this when he passed away because she said, well, I don't need it, I can't do nothing with it. So I said, hey, I would love that. We both were not only math enthusiasts, but we were also lovers of calculus, go figure. And so Because of that, I made a detour in my career path, and although I graduated here at FAMU with a degree in mechanical engineering, I decided to pursue education. And I became a mathematics instructor, and I'm currently here working at Florida A&M teaching mathematics. And so his impact is more than simply being my grandfather. It was the conversations we had that most people wouldn't like, but we had great conversations about integral and differential calculus and things of the sort. And so for me, it was more he laid a blueprint, a foundation of how to be a great instructor. I heard stories my dad would tell me about how students would call crying, "Oh, this problem is so hard. Can you help me out, Mr. Perkins?" So he would invite them to his home. They would go out on the back, and he had this huge chalkboard, and they would, be up all night working out problems. And I'm not quite doing that, but just the amount of detail and the amount of discipline and the amount of the care that he had for his students, I definitely embody that and that spirit and that drive. And so that's what he meant. That's the importance that he meant to me. He was basically my predecessor. And so I appreciate that, and I think that this street renaming will leave his legacy for years to come here. So I think my cousin is coming up next. Thank you, guys.
Tell him it's up. Tell him it's up. Tell him it's up.
Robin the Trudie Perkins way. Right here. I'm just going to say a couple of things. My name is William Rouse. I'm one of the grandsons of the great Robin and Trudie Perkins and the son of Miss Jacqueline Perkins. And this is a dream come true for me. I never would have thought in a million years that I would be up here just with all these great people, the commissioners, all these great people of Tallahassee and the bar community, honoring my grandmother and grandfather. I mean, that's big to me. If that's not Black history, I don't know what is. And in addition to that, to know that Robin and Trudie Perkins way runs right dead in center of the number one, and I said the number one HBCU in the world, Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. That's big. And all I would like to say is, my grandparents, they were my heroes. They were a lot of people's heroes. They did a lot of work in the community. They did a lot of work in the greater bar community. And didn't ask for anything. And one thing that they taught me and all of my family is to stand up for what I believe in. And my grandfather and grandmother didn't take no crap. And like I said, this is great for me. And I just thank each and everybody for being here and for y'all allowing my grandparents to have a street with their name on it. Thank you.
I gotta take mine down. Sorry. Good morning. My name is Roy Mathis. I'm also a grandson of Robin and Trudie Perkins, and also the son of Jacqueline Perkins. I grew up down the street, went to high school right up the street. I'm not a rattler, but I'm a big rattler. And once a rattler, always a rattler. Like for me, is about the preservation of who they were and what they believed in. Faith, courage, and hard work. They taught us to put God and family first, and it's my belief that they value the results of their work much more than recognition. My grandparents taught me and my brother how to fish at an early age. They pushed us to excel in academics, and my grandfather would also encourage us to learn a skill or a trade. And no matter how sleepy we claimed to be, we were gonna get up every Sunday morning and go to Sunday school and church. So for me, the lessons about love, protection, self-determination, and the power of prayer is what I remember the most, and it's a legacy that I would like to carry on. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are y'all doing? I know you're hot, but how is everyone doing? Good. My name is Sharice Perkins. I would like to make a correction and state that my father, Romario Perkins, is still very much alive and kicking and raising hell somewhere over a bowl of oatmeal. Very early in the morning. Robert and Trudie Perkins were also my grandparents, and I want to start off my remarks with the word because my grandmother lived and died by the word. And I chose Hebrews 11:1, which states that faith shows the reality of the things that have yet to be seen. And I think all of us are here today because we can see that living through faith and living through things that cannot be seen is how you get to the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm very honored to be here on their behalf and to be their descendant, and I'm very honored to be a part of this family. I would like to give a special thank you to Mr. Hollinger as well for reminding me how important it is to know your roots and know your history. A lot of the things that came to the light after all of his hard research were things that I myself didn't even know about my own grandparents. And their legacy lives through all of us, whether we know it or not. My grandmother was a worker in healthcare. I too was a worker in healthcare. My grandmother owned her own beauty salon, and I too owned my own beauty business as a makeup artist. I discovered these things after my path of chosen career, and it just reminds me that your legacy is in your blood. It's something that you can't run away from, and that's something that they reminded and taught all of us, is not to run away from who you are and what you need to do, no matter how difficult or easy it may be. So today, I would like to thank the city of Tallahassee. I would like to thank my very relentless and beautiful, amazing Aunt Jackie for all of her hard work and persistence of doing all of this, even when a lot of us told her it was a little bit much. And I would like to say that of all the people here whose last name is Perkins or who are part of this family, whether your name is Perkins or not, we are the descendants of their blood and bones, and they live through us. And may we be reminded every single day when we wake up that no matter how difficult our day may be ahead, no matter what the burdens we bear on our back, that it is possible through hard work, faith, self-actualization, and continuing the legacy that was determined before you set foot on this earth. Thank you all so much, and you guys have a blessed day.
We now have the great-grandchildren of the Perkins, and followed by the great-grandchildren's tribute. We will then be honored with a tribute of love and appreciation from none other than Robert and Trudie Perkins' daughter, Miss Jackie Perkins.
Good morning. How y'all doing today? I'm doing pretty good. Before I say anything, I just want to say that it's the feeling of seeing my great-grandparents like right here, like on this street is surreal. Like it's something I'll never imagine in my 17 years of life. But anyway, my name is William Ross III, and I am the proud great-grandson of Robert and Trudie Perkins. My sister Trinity and my cousins Chloe, Melanie, and Zenzele are here to give us a succinct presentation entitled Continuing the Legacy of Our Great-Grandparents, Robert and Trudie Perkins. Ordinarily, we would do this extemporaneously. However, we were all in different places and we had to prepare this morning. So please pardon us. We will be reading from our messages on our phones.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Chloe Mathis, and my Gigi and great-grandfather's legacy should inspire all of us to be courageous. I may only be in the 6th grade, but I will carry their legacy of leadership and standing up for social justice. Also, like both of them, I will always strive for academic excellence. I am grateful for the foundation that has been prepared for me. I can lead a new generation of scholars to reach new heights, and I cannot wait to see what the future holds for our next generation. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Melanie. I am 9 years old. I am kind and caring like my great-grandparents. I'm a leader, not a follower. Right. I continue their legacy by striving to be a great business owner. As my business grows, I can employ more people in my community. and I will always give back by serving the less fortunate. And I am so grateful to be here.
All right. All right.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Unveiling, and one of the characteristics my great-grandparents and I share is our love for the community. I will continue and share their legacy by being kind and supporting the community. I will continue and live my life as they did and fight for equality and justice. Thank you.
All right.
Good morning. My name is Trinity. I am 12 years old. Even though I was born with sickle cell anemia, a condition that sometimes causes pain in my body, God gave me a few special gifts as well. I love music, I love to sing, and I truly love to dance. I love to compete in spelling bees and oratorical contests, and I love to win. I will not allow my condition to stop me from being the best I can be. I am not ordinary. I am extraordinary. Like my great grandparents, I also want to make a positive difference in the lives of others. I plan to start working with organizations that will allow kids my age to help build homes and feed the homeless. It will make my heart smile to know that I can bless someone who is less fortunate. Thank you.
All right.
Alrighty. To close, as all of the great-grandchildren at the podium have stated, our mission is to continue a legacy conceived and ordained by God more than 75 years ago. We will achieve this by maintaining our roles as courageous, committed champions of positive change in our schools, communities, and someday all over the world. We are the great-grandchildren of the Robert and Trudie Perkins. Their legacy will live on through us for many years to come. Then we will pass that same metaphoric baton to the future members of the Perkins family. It is in our DNA. We serve in silence the same way. Thank you.
I promise everyone that I'll be succinct, as my grandson said. I just want to thank everybody for being here. I'm so glad that Delatry called all the names because I actually forgot my speech. I decided that if I wrote a speech that I would be able to get through it and to speak extemporaneously. But I thank the City Commission, County Commission, all of the staff. I thank Commissioner Diane Williams-Cox. Just heartfelt thanks to her and to Delatry Hollinger for the work that he has done and the research and that he has helped us to stay with this project. There were other people along the way who helped to bring this to fruition. And I can say that it had to be God. I know it was God, because that was the first thing I was supposed to say before I thanked anybody. I want to thank God for this glorious day that he ordained. I didn't do anything. It wasn't, the people who were signing documents, it was God. And I want to say, not to be redundant, I was supposed to talk to you about my parents. I'll probably get another opportunity to do that. But I want everybody to know that today, even though we are saluting the accomplishments of my parents, yes, they were awesome civil rights icons, individuals who fought for justice and who taught us how to do that. They were mom and dad, and they loved us, they nurtured us, they cared for us, they taught us how to live in this world and how to go about affecting change. Being courageous is one thing, but being courageous enough to take the necessary action to effectuate transformational change, that's a whole different thing. And right now, where we are, this is not about my mom and dad today. This is about the future. This is about lighting a fire to inspire others to stand up for what you believe in. Believe in something. And I'm going to share a picture and I'm going to sit down. See this baby? He's not even a year old. And what is he doing?
You might not be able to tell, but he's actually giving his Black History report. And he's not a year old. This is my grandson. And so he's turning around to the teacher and saying, "Can I start now?" And he's giving a report on his great great grandfather and great great grandmother, Robert and Trudie Perkins. That's him over there. So we have to tell our stories. And I'm going to, mention a few names. And I don't want to get into the names, but I know that my friends like Delatry, like Miss Altonese Bonds, like Priscilla Hawkins, and for those who are working, and like my friend Jarvis Rozier, Sergeant Major Jarvis Rozier, we have to start to tell our stories. Because if we don't do that, then our children never know. I've got my cousins who are sitting out in the audience. My mother had one sister, Berdale Jefferson, and she was a nurse. And she had an aunt who she loved very dearly, who was like a sister to her, Ada McKinney. We had to find out a lot of things about our family that probably should have been presented to us. So I'm just asking everybody, teach the children, tell the kids, all of us. God blessed and ordained this day to happen that my mother and father would have a street name, but that's not why they worked the way they worked. They didn't do it for fanfare. They didn't do it for recognition. I'm grateful for today and I'm humbled, but I just want us to raise a generation of young people who understand that selfless and silent service is better than getting on Twitter, is better than getting on Facebook every time you do something to help somebody. Because if you do it for those reasons, you're not doing it for the right reasons. So what we want to do is to make sure that our children learn the importance of service and that they are not afraid to take a stand. And my parents lost their jobs, both of them. But I could never tell you that there was a day that we couldn't eat. And sometimes when you want to affect change, it's not free. Freedom is not free. And they went through a lot. And I'm not going to go into all of the details, but Robert and Trudie Perkins were great people. They were great parents. And I have to say today that I have my brother Romario. He's not here today, but he's all right. And I'm standing here because the other three didn't get a chance. My youngest brother, he asked me, he said, "Mom and Dad would be proud of you and the work that you're doing in the community, but I need you to stop and help me," because he wanted to recognize our parents. And I found him dead on his birthday last year. And I found out that he had sent me an email 2 days before asking me to help him to do this. And that's why I got involved. And 40 days later, I lost my other brother. And even though I know they're not physically here, they're here. They're in heaven. And I know that my mother and father, with the work that they did, they helped a lot of people. People who never knew their names. But now they will, perhaps. So it wasn't for that. It was because that's what they were supposed to do. Thank you all for coming. As I said, I'm grateful, I'm humbled, and on behalf of the Perkins family, again, we want to inspire and light a fire under others. There's a lot of work that has to be done, not only in the community, in the state, but in this world. And if we have people who are afraid to stand up or to speak their mind or to try to come up with solutions, sensible and sustainable solutions, then what do we have? So please, it's for the children. Tell your kids, tell your grandkids what you did. Tell them the story of your grandparents. And you know what? You'll be surprised at the things. It doesn't have to be that you had a grandfather who argued a case all the way to the Supreme Court without a law degree. It doesn't have to be that your grandfather was the reason that there was a consent decree or that your grandmother stood up and got fired. And I want to know if Casey Dennis is here today.
I do need to, where's Casey? His mother was a part of this. She's now deceased. Lizzie Dennis. She and my mother and others were fired. E.F. Norwood, Corky was here. I think he may be gone, but his father worked with my father to get recreational facilities for blacks. And I wanted you all to see the articles if you don't believe it. It says Negroes go to ask for money funding from the county. Somebody had to do that. Yep. Because if not, then it would just say, hey, it's all right. Play in the street. Play in front of your house. But we're not going to do these things for you because you're not worthy. Somebody had to make those decisions to move forward. And I hope and I know that there's somebody in this audience who is doing the same and probably more. And it doesn't mean that because somebody doesn't know your name, you're not working. But again, do it for your kids, do it for your grandkids. Keep the history. Make sure that your children know who you are, what you did, and what your grandfather did. Because that's why they wonder sometimes, why do I like to do this? Why am I good with my hands? Why do I like math? Well, nobody ever told you that your grandfather might have been a math professor or whatever. So anyway, I don't want to belabor the point. Thank you all for coming. I love you all, and I am humbled, and I am honored, and on behalf of my parents and my deceased brothers and sisters, we thank you, we thank you, we thank you, thank you.